bodies weren't falling for him at some points in that fight. But I believe we won that fight. Clearly, we should be two-time world champion right now.
Gervonta "Tank" Davis is back at it with his trolling, and this time, Lamont Roach Jr. is in his sights. After their fight ended in a controversial draw, Tank didn't hold back, making sure Roach knew exactly what he thought about the outcome. But that's not all. Tank's rivals didn't hold back either, taking shots at his "pretty boy" excuse in the ring. Their comments have fueled talk of some big fights in the near future. However, Tank seems to have one thing on his mind: money. That became clear when he revealed which fighter he planned to call out if he had beaten Roach.
Who were you going to call out? What was the plan originally?
I think he was here.
Tank gonna do him.
He came in my locker room.
Shakur Stevenson?
He wasn't in my locker room.
Jake Paul.
Next question.
Let's get you up to speed. During a heated live session, Davis didn't hold back, mocking Roach and insisting he was still the better fighter. He even told Roach he should be grateful he wasn't knocked out. But Roach fired back, making it clear that Davis gave it his all and still couldn't secure the win. Now, as the dust settles, it seems Tank might not be finished with Roach just yet.
Nobody like a draw, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more, and I should have did more. I was lost in I lost track in the.
The fight itself was intense, with Roach looking sharp and outworking Tank in several rounds. The biggest moment came in the ninth when Roach landed a shot that stunned the boxing world. Tank took a knee. Most fans and analysts saw it as a clear knockdown, but the referee didn't call it. That decision changed everything. If ruled correctly, Roach would have secured the biggest win of his career. Instead, the fight ended in a majority draw, allowing Tank to hold on to his WBA lightweight title. Despite the controversy, Tank has been in full troll mode ever since. The moment he got the chance, he jumped on social media to remind Roach that he's still the champion and that a draw wasn't enough to call it a win. "You should be thanking me for not ending your career," Davis wrote in one post. In another, he completely dismissed Roach's performance, saying, "You had the fight of your life and still couldn't beat me." But Roach wasn't about to stay silent. He fired back, telling Tank that deep down, he knew the truth. Davis gave it everything he had and still couldn't put him away.
It was both even. If you watch the fight, they was both watching each other. Sometimes they stood right in front of each other and was just trying to figure out where the holes was at. It was a very skillful fight.
And which is one of the things that when you fight somebody...
You know what happened in that ring? Roach said during an Instagram live session. "You felt it. You did your best, and you still couldn't beat me. Told you I was no Frank Martin." It was a direct challenge, one that Tank clearly didn't take lightly. Davis quickly fired back, addressing the moment he took a knee. "Man, y'all keep talking about that knee," he said. "I took a knee because I wanted to, not because he did anything special. I was just chilling, thinking about what I was going to eat after the fight." But everyone knows the truth. That moment showed a rare sign of vulnerability from Davis, and Roach isn't letting it go, using it to keep the pressure on.
And I thought I was doing my thing, so I'm not really that frustrated about that. But if that was kind of a knockdown, I would win the majority decision.
All the back and forth has Tank rethinking his future. Before the Roach fight, Davis had been clear about his plans to retire soon, saying he had 3 fights left and would be done with boxing by the end of 2025. But that controversial draw changed everything. Now, Tank is shifting gears. "Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans," he admitted at the post-fight press conference. "I probably got 4 more fights now."
Your future?
Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans. I probably got like 4 more fights now. For sure.
It's a total shift from where he was just months ago. At the end of 2024, Tank made it clear he was tired of boxing and ready to walk away, with his retirement plan already set. But now he's got something to prove. The draw against Roach is clearly bothering him, even if he won't admit it outright. His nonstop trolling says it all. But while Tank is busy trolling, Keyshawn Davis is on a mission to expose him, and he's not holding back. Since Tank's controversial draw with Roach, Keyshawn has been all over social media, making it clear that he never saw Tank as the fighter he claims to be. To Keyshawn, Tank's entire reputation is built on hype, not real skill. And after watching him struggle against Roach, he's doubling down on that belief. He's convinced that Tank isn't as dominant as people think, and he's making one thing clear. If they ever step in the ring, he has no doubt he'd take Tank down.
Fight playing out, what's the biggest advantage that Keyshawn has
against Tank?
Yeah,
He's a great boxer. He sounds a great boxer, and he got power behind it too. So I can see that fight just being an entertaining fight. Keyshawn's an entertainer, like they said. Tank comes in there and tries to knock you out. I can see that fight just being entertained and, doing later rounds, Keyshawn stop.
Keyshawn first spoke out during an Instagram live, and he didn't hold back when criticizing Tank's performance. "I feel like Lamont won. Let's start there," he said, making sure everyone knew exactly where he stood. "I feel like Lamont definitely won. A draw. It is what it is. I ain't hating on the decision, but I do feel like Lamont Roach pulled it off." But he wasn't just sharing his opinion. He backed it up with facts. If the 9th round knee had been correctly ruled a knockdown, Roach would have won on 2 of the 3 scorecards, making him the new WBA lightweight champion. Instead, Tank held onto his belt, fueling even more debate about whether he's truly the best at 135. "If they ran it back, y'all already know what would happen," Keyshawn added, making it clear that he has no doubt Roach would win a rematch.
The nigga trash. And not I'm talking about the opponent. The opponent. Burn trash. I just don't like how.
But this wasn't just about Roach. This was Keyshawn putting himself in the spotlight. He doesn't just think Roach beat Tank. He's convinced he would do even worse to him. "I'm the best at 135, man," he said with confidence. "Either one of them guys, I'm knocking them out." There was no hesitation, no doubt. He spoke like a man who already knew the outcome. "I'm telling you, if you give me either one before their rematch, forget that rematch. They're getting put down. I'm for real. I'll put all these guys down." The message was clear. Tank and Roach can run it back as many times as they want, but it won't matter. If Keyshawn gets to either of them first, he plans to take over the division.
But I don't want to fight one of them. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who I fight at this point. I don't care. But I'm telling you, if you give me either or before they rematch, I'm fucking their rematch up. They getting put. I'm telling you, I ain't even playing. I ain't playing, bro. I'm young. I'm on fire. I'm young and I'm on fire.
Then came the moment when Keyshawn really went at Tank. "Don't say Tank will knock me out no more. I'm shutting that down right now. Don't even fix your mouth to say this man could knock me out." Crazy. This wasn't just trash talk. It was a full-blown rejection of everything Tank has built his name on. The power, the knockouts, the fear factor. Keyshawn doesn't see any of it as real. In his mind, Tank has never faced someone like him. And he's making it clear that if they ever step in the ring, it'll be a completely different fight than anything Tank has experienced before.
And I thought I should have won a competitive fight. I think I did what I needed to do necessary to bank the rounds, and even without the knee, that should have been a knockdown. So I don't think there's any excuse for me not to win tonight, but that's just how the cookie crumble.
Keyshawn isn't just talking for the sake of it. There's a real chance he could be next in line to face Tank. While Tank has said he's open to a rematch with Roach, he also made it clear that it won't be his next fight. That has fans speculating. If it's not Roach, then who? Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson are names being thrown around, but so is Keyshawn Davis. And given how personal he's making this, the build-up to that fight would be unlike anything we've seen from Tank in a long time. Keyshawn isn't just calling out Tank's last fight. He's calling out his entire career. He's arguing that Tank has never been what people say he is, claiming he's been carefully matched with opponents who make him look good rather than facing real threats.
That particular quality, if I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont Roach.
And now that Tank has finally been in a real fight, he barely made it through. To Keyshawn, the myth of Tank is crumbling, and he wants to be the one to put the final nail in the coffin. But the backlash isn't just coming from Keyshawn. Tim Bradley, one of Tank's harshest critics for years, has constantly questioned the level of his opponents and how his career has been managed. However, even Bradley had to admit that Tank had something special, especially after how he handled business with the Saudis. Over time, Bradley had come to appreciate certain qualities in Tank, even if he didn't always agree with his attitude. But after watching the fight against Lamont Roach Jr., all of that respect was gone.
I think when he found out, man, this guy is in front of me, he's taking it, I think it was too late. I thought it was disappointing that it ended in a draw.
It wasn't just that Tank underperformed. It was the way he carried himself. The entitlement, the belief that he could do whatever he wanted in the ring and get away with it. Bradley has seen a lot in boxing, but Tank's antics in that fight left him shaking his head. He expected a dominant performance from Davis, a statement win that would silence critics and prove he was still the man to beat at 135. Instead, Tank looked vulnerable. And worse, he acted like he was above the sport.
I can't even see who it is. Hey, who is the dude? Who is the dude?
Bradley was disgusted by what he saw, and he didn't hold back in his analysis. He felt Tank was given an unfair advantage, that the fight was being controlled to protect him rather than letting the action play out naturally. The 9th round incident was the perfect example. Bradley had never seen a fighter take a knee like that, pause the action on his own terms, and have it completely ignored by the referee. That was the moment he realized Tank wasn't just the A-side. He was being treated like boxing royalty, with the rules bent in his favor. And for someone like Bradley, who prided himself on fighting the hard way, that was unacceptable.
They made the rules up. Yeah, that was bullshit. It should have been called a knockdown. You can't take a break like that. The only person that can do that is the referee. The referee can stop the action and say, hey, let me take you to the...
Bradley also took issue with Tank's attitude during the fight. There was no urgency, no real effort to take control when the fight was slipping away in the later rounds. It was as if Tank believed his status alone would be enough to secure the win, as if the judges wouldn't dare rule against him. Bradley had seen fighters lose their hunger before, but this felt different. Tank wasn't just coasting. He acted like he didn't need to do more than the bare minimum. And to Bradley, that was a serious problem.
Stop closing up. Gotta let it go. Keep turning, step around.
Bradley was particularly frustrated because he had actually started to come around on Tank. After his knockout win over Ryan Garcia, Bradley had given him credit, acknowledging his patience, timing, and high ring IQ. He had even defended Tank against critics who called him overrated, arguing that his power made him one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. But this fight changed everything. Tank's unwillingness to push himself, his reliance on status rather than skill, made Bradley question whether he had been wrong to give him that credit in the first place. The more Bradley thought about it, the angrier he got. This wasn't just about one fight. It was about what it meant for the future. If Tank was already showing signs of complacency, if he believed he didn't have to prove himself anymore, what would happen in his next fights? What if he faced someone like Keyshawn Davis, who was young, hungry, and eager to take him down? What if he fought Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson, two fighters who wouldn't let him get away with taking rounds off? Bradley didn't like what he saw, and he wasn't afraid to say it.
Okay. We still got to see each other. He say he want to fight me, so we gonna fight.
But what do you think about the decision?
I told Lamont won.
You told Lamont won. Got you. I'll talk to you later, Shakur.
For Bradley, boxing is about discipline, heart, and the willingness to dig deep when things get tough. He had been in wars, pushed himself to the absolute limit, and never once expected special treatment. That's why this whole situation disgusted him. He didn't care how much talent Tank had. If he wasn't willing to fight like a champion, then he was never a real champion. But even with all this backlash, Tank Davis seems to have reached a point where what the fans think doesn't really matter to him. He's not looking to prove himself against the best in his division. He's not worried about legacy right now. It's all about the money. And if that's the case, then Jake Paul is the biggest payday available. The clues are all there. Jake Paul was in Tank's locker room before the fight. The cameras made sure to show him during the broadcast, and when Tank was asked about his next opponent, he dodged the question in a way that made it clear he already knew who it was. He even refused to say Jake's name when pressed by the media, which could mean negotiations are already underway, and he didn't want to spill the news too soon. A fight with Jake Paul wouldn't be about competition, it would be about business. Jake knows how to sell a fight, and Tank is at a point where he's prioritizing paydays over challenges. He already hinted that a rematch with Lamont Roach wasn't happening next, even though the controversy from their fight makes it the most logical option. The WBA should be ordering an immediate rematch, but Tank doesn't seem interested. If they push the issue, he could just vacate the title and move on. That's how little the belts matter to him now. And if he's going to move on from defending his title, why not go all in and take the biggest spectacle fight he can get? Size-wise, this fight makes no sense. Jake Paul walks around at 200 pounds and has even gone as high as 227 for his fight with Mike Tyson. Tank, on the other hand, is a natural 135-pounder, maybe 140 at most. Even if Jake somehow drained himself down to 185, there would still be a massive 45-pound difference between them. But this isn't about fairness, it's about selling a fight. Jake Paul has already called out smaller fighters before, including Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. Facing Tank would just be another chapter in his circus of fights.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. I'll be super, super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
Jake knows exactly how to get under people's skin and turn fights into must-see events. He's already throwing out hints that he'd destroy Tank due to the size difference while still giving him respect as a fighter. That kind of comment keeps the conversation going. He's planting the seed, and Tank seems like he's on board. If Tank was really interested in fighting Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson, he would have said their names when asked. Instead, he played coy, dodged the question, and let the speculation grow. That's exactly how a Jake Paul fight would be promoted.
No, I'm not.
He's a champ though too, undefeated.
And what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else the champ. I'm gonna come up here where the big boys at.
For years, Tank's fan base stood by him whenever his level of competition was questioned. They insisted he was the most dangerous puncher in the sport, arguing that he didn't need to face the biggest names to prove himself. But now, even his most loyal supporters are struggling to defend him. His performance against Roach was lackluster, and his attitude after the fight made it obvious that he isn't taking these matchups seriously. If he ends up fighting Jake Paul next, it would be undeniable proof that he's no longer interested in facing the best in the division.
Go ahead, Daz, get in the ring, Daz.
A fight with Jake Paul would also attract massive mainstream attention. While Tank has always been a star in the boxing world, Jake brings in an entirely different audience. This wouldn't be a fight about competition, it would sell purely because of the names involved. Casual fans would love it, and hardcore boxing purists would hate it, but either way, it would generate huge revenue. At this point, that seems to be Tank's main priority. Some might think he's just trolling and would never actually go through with it. But the fact remains, he hasn't denied it. When the idea was brought up, he didn't shoot it down, didn't laugh it off. He simply moved on to the next question. That's not how a fighter reacts to a ridiculous rumor. That's how a fighter responds when negotiations are quietly happening behind the scenes. The biggest issue with all of this is that Tank still has unfinished business at lightweight. He has top-tier challengers waiting, fighters like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and even Keyshawn Davis, who's been relentlessly calling him out. If Tank truly wants to prove he's the best at 135, those are the fights he needs to take. But if he chooses to fight Jake Paul instead, it'll be clear that he's no longer chasing greatness. He's not trying to build a legendary career. He's just after the biggest payday. And right now, Jake Paul offers exactly that. What do you think is next for Tank? Do you believe Lamont Roach outclassed him? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more updates.